quilts that were made 150, 200 years ago by these slave women in these huts. The same types of quilts are being made today by their descendants. The difference being that these quilts are on permanent display in the Metropolitan Museum in New York City, the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. They're in museums all over Europe. These women who were uprooted from their homeland and who worked in the fields and who used scraps of material to clothe their family and to keep warm. What were they to do? They didn't give up. They persevered. They made beautiful things out of the scraps that they were given. And I just have nothing but admiration for these women. This is indeed, to me, a very moving part of our culture. These are part of the roots of our culture. It came out of Africa and are now all over the world.
Okay. And here I am. I'm learning to do quilting. You know, we did headpieces. We learned how to write poetry. We learned how to put calypso together with music. Now I'm learning to do something I've never done before because I'm not a machine person. So I think this was a beautiful, beautiful program. And I really think that they should bring back more stuff.
So I really do appreciate all the wonderful classes that are being offered through the Roots of Black Arts and Culture program offered by Playmass. It's not only teaching me skills, so I'm learning how to sew and make beautiful things like quilts, but also these carnival headpieces that we made. They're complex, they're beautiful, they're creative, but I love the history and the storytelling behind where they came from. So it helps me connect with my origins as a Trinidadian, as a Caribbean person, knowing that these headpieces were to celebrate the culture. They basically were a way to kind of portray and reflect the affluence and the wealth of the slave owners, of the masters of the time that our people worked for, but in a way that wasn't offensive. And then by adding the music and adding the calypso that we know now as a way of us communicating messages to each other culturally, just like the quilts. The patterns on the quilts are also ways for us to communicate messages through cultural code. I think bringing all that historical information together just makes me feel more enriched culturally, and I can pass on to the next generation.
These are part of the roots of our culture. It came out of Africa and are now all over the world.
So humbling, like, that they paved the way for us. They paved the way for us.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Liked what you just heard? Then be sure to go online today to get your tickets to our final showcase event on March 29th, 2025.